We are asking, I'm sorry.
Can you email me that tomorrow where it says that?
The local plans on the website, you can just see,
I've never seen it in there, that's why. Maybe you'll know where it is, because I've never seen it, so if you could email it to me. It'd be interesting.
we're also asking to increase days for one of our existing office specialists, primarily because I've had to increase her days each year when we do our contracts at the beginning of each year and get all the individual service agreements out. For each student that's placed in a service, we have to not only do a master contract, but a specific agreement relating to their IEP. And then with the last item is requesting facility for a mental health center. And the reasoning behind that is that when we don't currently have enough housing, we've had to expand our clinical counseling team significantly. Used to be like 5 people, and it's 15 now. And so they're basically doubled up in a couple of portables right now, and we've not done anything this year and right now because every time I put in a phone line and put in a computer hookup and everything, it costs money. So we're trying to wait till this is resolved before we spend any money. There have been some other suggestions that perhaps we would, a district would have space available to lease to us. We were originally looking at the space directly across from us because that would allow them to be on our computer network. And also because it was a medical facility, it would be minimum amount of remodeling. We hope in the future that we would be able to expand our mental health services. Under AV program, the Department of Behavioral Health is limited by law to particular services. And we're feeling that, for one, they did not serve students with autism for the most part. And, this is a huge area where we get referrals because of anxiety issues, social skill issues, and we feel that these students would benefit from cognitive behavioral therapy, like a 12-week program that would help teach them skills, and we'd like to also be able to bring in parents and teachers, similar to maybe a little bit like what we do with our clinical parent, but more integrated. Also, we've really never reached out to our preschool population. And there's very clear research that if you don't address some of these mental health issues early on, that your ability to resolve them as the child grows older lessens significantly. We also would like to do more family work. But when, you know yourself, when you appear at your child's school, somehow that message goes out to every kid in this class that you're there. And so, the confidentiality of, counseling and such, we just feel that parents would be more amenable to coming to a clinic where, they're not on the school site, where they're, the therapy would be more confidential. So those are some of the things we'd like to be able to do as we move forward, because we do feel that it would be more beneficial to the population that we're addressing, and some of these services would perhaps yield better results than what we're getting now.
Question. You say we, you mean WESELPA, or you mean all districts?
Currently, WESELPA provides most of the counseling services. There are districts who ask their school psychologists to do counseling, and also you've heard about the counseling centers. Those are Medi-Cal clinics, and we have one district who hires intern level staff, both pre-licensed and licensed. So there's a variety of services. The clinic facility, right now we were looking primarily as something where the WESELPA would be providing those services. But,
I think it's funny. There's such a
and we're really replacing a clinic that was in our community. I mean, when advocates, come and think about, well, the school's doing this, well, where are you doing it?
particularly those services that are skill-based and also focused on parent skills. Because there's a lot of students that work at the primary level and the preschool that have autistic children, families with autistic children, and very few resources, especially in the area of mental health resources. Kaiser can do it, for example, with a long waiting talking about months to get support services finished. And so early intervention through both the individual impact on the student as well as the parent are very, very.
And one of this, if you think about a 3-year-old, you really just can't bring them in and talk about, could you have made a better choice? And so very often when we work with young children, one of the more successful strategies is what they call parent interaction training. And so actually you have, the therapist isn't even in the room with the parent and the child. If you set it up the way it's supposed to be, there's a 2-way mirror, or one-way mirror, I guess it is, and the child and the parent are in one room. And the parent has kind of an earbud thing, and then the clinician is outside the room and guides the parent in how to help change their way of reacting to the child. So they're telling them, do this or say this, so that the parent's really being empowered to handle those situations, which, especially a 3-year-old, they're with the parent most of the day. And if you can help change that interaction between the parent and the child, and also teach the parent new skills, you're going to be a lot more successful than if you sat down with a 3-year-old and tried to,
Well, that would make the student successful for the rest of his life as an adult.
And that's what
intervention that is forever for the child in navigating community in a social, appropriate, emotional way, which is where many, as get older, it can be the weakness and not be successful. But in empowering the parent to know how to give something in behavioral and emotional, it's amazing. It's a child.
So some of the, we're looking at group therapy, early intervention, social skills, especially targeting our autistic population, and then other types of groups also. Kind of asking our districts to go back and take a look and we want to do some needs survey at the school site level, because when we met, we talked about, or eating disorders or cutting or other things, are these areas that we perhaps should be providing some groups in, and so we really feel we need more guidance in those areas. Are there particular areas that you see or know of as areas of need?
As a child in high school and helping our parents with older kids, it's and students having self-awareness of who they are, of their disability or whatever we want to call it, gifts. Then becoming aware, especially entering in high school where they only have 4 years, but the day after high school, as kids, that's, like if not having a very regional center, they will have to become adults overnight. And then they have to navigate the world. And self-awareness and regulating and self-regulating, I feel, is a huge need.
And then advocating for themselves, learning to...
In a positive way,
yeah.
be able to get support and help. Without mom and dad, something that's going to happen.
Yeah, and that's I imagine, Marla, in your transition classes, you probably teach disability awareness and self-advocacy, because I know at present, that's been our vehicle is through our transition projects.
Like I said, in
to
observing
do that,
as the older students is that I cannot believe how many students are lacking a lot of self-awareness, which make them fall into the behavioral moments that are not appropriate, as adult life is here. I mean, just my observation.
Jim, I have a question about the lease thing, because we talked about that, and you said we need to wait, so I did. I'm kind of confused, bear with me, you guys, I read everything. On the PAC agenda and on the superintendent agenda, the PAC committee said it was best practice to actually give the services to the kids at the school. So I'm kind of confused why you would be
majority of our individual counseling is provided at the school site, and we would continue with that. But we see the need for some other services that aren't as easily provided at a school site. In part, if you're looking at specialized groups, you're selecting students with similar needs and ages that for that group, and they may not all be at the school, same school site.
I'm kind of confused, you keep saying, you guys decided, but the PAC is the special ed directors, and they feel that it's best for this stuff to happen and occur at the school, which it is. So I'm confused why you would lease a building when the special ed directors are saying it's best at the school sites.
And during the school day, the majority of the services will still happen at the school site. But we see a need for some additional services that are the school site. We have people with mental health workers.
So that's why I'm asking. I'm confused as who.
That's what I'm telling you, but you don't believe me, so I can only tell you what I what I know.
We're getting late since the kids get off at 2:35 usually.
Yes, our counselors work to 4:30.
They work till 4:30, so why would we be leasing a building? That's where I'm getting at, because the PAC is like I said, the special ed directors, they know what the kids need in the school district. Well, I'm hoping they do, okay? Some school districts I wonder about, but, I mean, if they're advising that, it's happening in the school, and the school district, I'm kind of confused why you would go and rent or lease.
Well, because I also children get clinical counseling that is done at the school.
Right. That would
The school
continue.
district, both our
Yeah,
kids.
school district.
Right, that would continue. But other types of services, like the preschool, parent-child interaction therapy needs particular facility to do that, which you don't have at the school site. Doing some of the groups we would like to do aren't necessarily, you don't have all those kids at the school site to do it with them during the day.
Yeah, here's my next question is, because I know at OMSD, and I believe Chino also has this issue in some parts of El Toloma, the parents can't transport. They have no vehicle. They're limited. So how are they going to get to this leased facility? Are you guys going to, buy vans to help transport? I mean, that's where I'm getting to. It's not really kind of making sense.
Well, the services for each child would be determined through their IEP, so however it would be
Right.
best for them to do that. We currently have, at least 75 parents who find their way to the WESELPA on their own each week to attend our clinical parent training program.
And I know
So,
it's also at OMSD because our parents can't get there.
Mhm.
And it's closer, it's in walking distance and stuff, that's why I'm asking, and also, where would you lease it? Because getting to this point, for certain people in Chino and OMSD, it would be kind of complicated. This is a distance, have you guys considered that? The supplement, they have decided that this is needed.
Right. This is, we're not identifying a specific building at this time. Any particular lease that went forward would be approved by the superintendent's council. It would be the concept of having a clinic.
No, it's not for Kaiser.
That was one, we do have the figures to look at that. But currently we don't have any individual offices for our clinicians if they were to be able to meet with a parent.
But that's
They're in a
just-
portable with, everybody in the same room, so there's no
And just let you
conflict.
know, one of your clinicians will be at my house, because it's